All right, so I'm going to take a look at a couple of Tim's files. I'm going to start by opening up his Ladybug finished art. So I'm going to double click on it. And the message I get from Illustrator is that I couldn't find the linked file, ladybug2.jpg. So um, I assume that that's what you used for your template drawing. But what happened was you placed it, and then I believe that you left that layer empty. So I'm going to hit ignore. Looks like you had two files there. So instead of placing your sketches, in other words, instead of going to file and then place, and then finding a PNG or a JPEG, what I like to do when I start is just take the JPEG and drag it right onto Illustrator, and it opens up in a new file, and then I have to size it for the document size. So I'm going to go ahead and make it 25% because it looks pretty big. I can preview that. That looks pretty good, but I'm going to go to, no, that's fine. I'm going to go to OK. So actually this sketch is now part of the Illustrator file. It's not placed. And then I can double click and hit template, and then use that as my template. So that's one thing you can do. The other thing you can do is when you're finished with your artwork, just go ahead and take the layer, and I assume it was layer 1, that had the linked or placed drawing, and make sure you just delete it and then save your file again. And then you won't have any problem with that message popping up. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and look at this file. Tim's Ladybug. I'm going to hit Command 0 to have it fill the screen. And I'm just going to make sure that my workspace is reset. I want my layers panel available to me. And it looks like you have a fair number of layers. Looks like you might have had the PNG and a JPEG in there. I'm going to go ahead and delete any empty layers. That looks like an empty layer. Do that. That's a little house cleaning you should do at the end. I'm going to go ahead and save the file. Now I noticed a couple of things about this. In all three of your bugs, you went pretty heavy with the black line around, which I think is fine, but it does give a particular look to the artwork. I also noticed that here, instead of drawing your leg elements and just placing them behind the main, here you did it, and because you had a solid piece here. Now you ran into a little trouble here because you had some transparency here. So here's a little fix for you. So this is transparent against a background of this purple, right? So I'm going to do is take this oval that you created, and I'm going to go ahead and hit copy, which is Command C, and then Command B, paste a copy behind it, and then just sample the purple. So really what I have is this. You have your transparent piece here, and then you're replicating the object behind it that you're making it transparent against. So here I'm going to use my gradient tool, And I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. I'm going to match the gradient. Actually, it went the other way, so I'm going to do this. You see what I'm doing, Tim? I've now matched this. This is a solid piece. I'm going to go ahead and move that back on top. And now I'm going to lock this background. It looks like it is locked. Yep. So now I'm going to go ahead, and this is a little trick I use. I'm going to select these pieces and hit Command 3 to make them all disappear. And these are on different layers, but I'm going to go ahead and make them all disappear. Command 3, Command 3, and then I'm going to hit Command Option 3 to make them all reappear. And I'm going to place them on a layer underneath that body. So here's layer 9. I'm going to put that just above. All right, let's see how that looks. Looks like they came through okay. Now, because this is behind these two pieces, I can actually not worry about drawing right to the edge. Look at that. And there's kind of your solution there. And here, you basically replicated a little piece of the background, put it underneath this transparent piece, and now you have the option of not worrying about these pieces drawn right up against. We don't really want shapes being drawn right up against the edges. Now, everything else looks pretty good. Yeah. The only other thing I would say is if you have a black stroke, just be aware that a black stroke around every piece, every element, does kind of give it a cartoony look. And I've selected this piece, which has a steely gray gradient and a black stroke. I'm going to go ahead and under Select, I'm going to select Same Stroke Color, which is almost all the pieces you have. And what I'm going to do is two things. Under View, I'm going to hide the edges. So everything is still selected. I just can see what's actually going on. I've hidden the selection lines, and I could see what it looks like without the black stroke. Look at that. That has a completely different look. The other thing you can look at is, maybe I don't want a solid black stroke. Maybe I want something like a dark purple stroke. Look at that. That gives you another completely different look. It's not quite as heavy-handed. All right. You also might want to play around with the thickness of the stroke. And in this case, if it gets thicker, you might want to, I'm going to hold down the Shift key and before I move my sliders, and they're all going to move down proportionally. So look at that. That gives you a whole different look. And then you have a couple of little pieces in here. Oh, this is your gradient. So just be aware of that. All right, so that's your ladybug. I'm going to go ahead and close that. And I'm going to close this one. And I want to look at your spider. Okay. This one also has that warning. Now, I'm going to close up all the layers. I found that this was, even though it's a really interesting design, that black line was very, very heavy-handed. And there's a couple of things I also want to make you aware of. All right, so when you have, let's see, and I think there's also a piece in your mantis that I wanted to talk to you about. So I just think that this black line is too much. So I'm going to go ahead and select this. Now also notice, here's something. notice that you have a black here, and then this looks like almost a different black. So we're going to see, this might be a gradation or a tint of black. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and select this, and that's a 7-point stroke. So I'm going to go back, and maybe I want to select same fill color, same stroke color. And I'm going to take these all down to 3. Watch what happens. Now I think, even though it still has that bold black look, you can see more of the actual shapes. And I think you have to watch out for things like this. Okay. Sometimes it's good to just go on in there. This is your group selection tool. Holding down the Shift key, just move it up. Now notice you have, let's get in real close. Notice you have some anchor points here. And notice how the stroke meets in a corner, right? So if you go ahead and open up your stroke panel, let's take a look at that. Are they going to let us move this around a little bit? I'm going to go here. I'm going to open it up here. All right, here it is. Here's my stroke panel. Notice that the reason why these stroked lines are ending in such a sharp, extended corner is because of the cap and corner selections you've made. If you want to make those disappear, try a round cap and a round corner and see what happens. Same thing with this. And if we hit Command Y, notice that this corner, or let's use the direct selection tool. We're going to have to come in a little closer. Here it is as we're looking at it, and notice that they're not really in line with each other. I'm going to click that corner, and let's see if I can grab this. Might be easier to do this one first. I might have to actually move that out of the way. I'm going to select this. All right, I'm going to do this. Move this up. Then I'm going to move this up. And then I'm going to Shift select both corner points. And then I'm going to go to Object, Path, Average. And I'm going to average them both horizontally and vertically so they'll actually overlay each other. Look at that. And then I can move them both back into a point like that. So now that's a lot better. And we might even have another little bit. Oops. Now that looks a lot better than it did. You want to get rid of those corners there. Here you could make these rounded corners. It still looks pretty much the same, but you're going to end up with just a cleaner looking piece of artwork. These look a little underdone down here, but I really do like the shadow that you put in there. This looks a little strange down here. I don't know what that is. That might be a loose point. Or I don't know what it is. Let's see. Yep. The other thing you can do is under Select, Object, Straight Points, and anywhere you have a straight point in your document, you've got another one over here, You can select them and just hit delete. That gets rid of all of those. And here, you might have to, let's see, this layer is here. I'm going to lock that temporarily. And then I'm going to move this down. I think you just want to do a little more housekeeping with your artwork. And then here, I'm actually selecting 2 sets of endpoints. And again, I'm going to go to Object, Path, Average, both, and they're now right on top of each other. It's a great way to align points, and you may want to grab them again. Let's go to Y and use that rounded corner, and there you go. Okay. All right, now I do want to take a quick look at your mantis. Here we go. And again, this is a good case. Here is your background. I'm going to lock that. Notice these 2 points. I'm just going to grab the 2 points at the end. Object, Path, Average, both. Boom. And now they're perfectly aligned with each other. Look at that. Now this one, if we take a close look, notice how this is, it's an edge that's overreaching the other lines. So I'm going to go ahead and select these again. And I'm going to go to my stroke panel and hit rounded corners. Boom, it's gone. Here, make sure that's lined up. Use your ability to zoom in. And over here, you shouldn't have this here. You can go ahead and yeah, having a layer color that's gray is kind of like death. So pick something bright like a gold, and then you can see it a lot better. There's a couple of things you can do here. You can pull these in. These look better. Here's one. You could either create a clipping mask for this, or you can just take this, copy, and then paste it in front of these lines. Command F, paste it in front, and then remove the fill. And look at that. That's a lot neater looking, isn't it? Just watch out for little things like this. Make sure your lines, this is all, Illustrator's a precision tool. That looks better. And that's the kind of thing you just want to wear, okay? And again, I would fix this too. All right. Okay, and again, this type of thing you want to avoid. It looks much better this way, doesn't it? One last thing I wanted to mention to you is don't forget that with your gradients, I'm going to open up the gradient tool here, you can adjust the aspect ratio of the gradient. So look at that. That looks a little, it fits more of this. It fits the shape a lot better. And you can also change the angle just from, so look at that. If you compare the two eyes now, this one looks a little bit more like an insect. And then watch out for this stuff. This you might need to actually make a little thicker, so I'm going to go there. It's a simple, that takes care of that. Watch out for all these little things like this, okay? All right.